Following yet another Manchester City defeat this week to Aston Villa, the big
Hmm.
question here on Monday morning, is there a sports precedent of a team falling off in season like this, similar to what we're seeing in what I'm calling the Manchester City slide?
Yeah, we were trying to find some comparison to this. Some example of a team within a. Now, look, baseball is famous for teams like being in first place at the end of July or whatever, and then collapsing. Right? That happens all the time. I mean, you think about. I'm going to go deep in my baseball knowledge here, so if you don't know what this is, it's fine. It's just an example. I remember the '69 Mets were way back of the Cubs in the division, and then had to come back and
You were
eventually,
alive in
obviously.
'69?
I was not, but I read a lot of things. I understand how history works, and I can go back and review those
Fair,
stories.
fair.
This is obviously you can talk about other sports, right? You can talk about baseball, you can talk about football. It happens. Teams win their first 6 games and miss the playoffs. That happens. But the difference in the kind of seasons and the rhythms of those seasons makes this really tough because baseball is 162 games. Like that's a lot of games to be good for a while and then bad for a while and then good again. Basketball's like that, hockey's like that. Football's not. American football's not because it's now 17? Is that what they play? I can never keep up. They're playing 17 games now. It used to be 16. That's not enough games for it to be like, oh, they were the best team in the world, and then suddenly they're terrible and they can't possibly win again. It doesn't feel like that. Because we were talking about like from season to season. Like the Patriots are the best team in the NFL and they're going to the Super Bowl all the time, and then Tom Brady leaves and they're not good anymore. And that's a collapse. But it's not the same kind of collapse we're witnessing from City because we didn't start the year thinking, well, this is going to be a really tough season for City. They lost their best player. That's not what happened. What happened is we thought City was going to be, again, a title contender. Maybe not win it because it is possible that Liverpool or somebody was going to be good enough to challenge them. Arsenal got close 2 years in a row. Maybe this was the year Arsenal would break through. But we thought City would still be one of the two or three best teams in the Premier League, and therefore more than likely one of the two or three best teams in the world because of their Champions League campaign. And that's not what's happening. What's happening is they cannot, for the life of them, win a game. And I don't have a good comparison for this. I cannot remember a team going from that height to simply cannot win. And they're still in seventh. And they're only a couple of points off of the top four. There's a good chance there'll be a Champions League team when all this is said and done,
Yeah.
Rob. But it is still dramatic in how bad this has been for them.
What makes it harder to fathom is what would be the thing that they change to turn it around. I mean, their injury
That's a good
list,
question.
meanwhile, obviously there's key players out, and then there's some players that, where's Kevin De Bruyne on all this? And, like, is he injured, just not in favor? Like, what's going on with all that? But, a lot of the teams that we would immediately think of, it's like a big departure or just like the whole team is injured or there's some big sort of like tangible departure or leaving. But to go from first place, a win, Holland, maybe we should consult a religious some religious input. Did Erling Haaland just totally piss off the soccer gods when he told Arteta to be humble? And now they're like, well, maybe that's a bridge too far, Mister Haaland, and you don't get those lucky bounces or all these calls or the extra energy, the effort, or the form just is like, these are world-class players. You look at the team, I put it in our chat over the weekend, and just on paper, if you look at their lineup that they set out, how many teams on paper is that better than still?
Yeah, there's. I think, but that's the thing. Our perception of the players changes with the form on some level. Phil Foden scored the goal against Villa. It was a consolation goal. They didn't have enough time to go find the equalizer. But Phil Foden has gone from, it's very similar, although it happened over the course of 2 seasons here for Foden. Foden was the player of the year in the Premier League last year. The player of the year. The best player in the estimation of the voters in the entire Premier League at the age of, 23 last season? Phil Foden has that one goal in 2024-25.
Is that the spark that turns it all around?
Through 17 matches. maybe, but I think Phil Foden didn't become a bad player. Like, he didn't go from the best player in the Premier League to a bad player. Something else has happened, right? And we came into the year, he was ill, he wasn't training well. Guardiola, and I'm picking on this one story because you go back in time and you think, wow, maybe there was some warning signs there. Maybe because what you said is true, Rob. When we were getting ready for the show, you said, like for the Patriots collapse or fall off from being a Super Bowl AFC contender every year to not. Hey, Tom Brady left. He's the best quarterback in the history of the game. If you lose him, of course you're not going to be as good. We can point to Tom Brady leaving the Patriots and go, that's why they're not as good. What can you point to here? What can you do with City and say, here's the thing? And maybe it doesn't have to be. That's reductive, right? That misses a lot of things can be happening at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe Guardiola's message has finally gotten stale. Maybe his passion isn't there anymore. Maybe these players are just a little bit complacent, right? Maybe the age, in the case of Kyle Walker, which has been so obvious, in the case of you bring back Gundogan, you're leaning into Gundogan, that doesn't seem to have worked. De Bruyne has certainly, with his injury issues and his age, he hasn't been nearly as effective as he's been in the past, right? I've seen the opinion pieces that Pep Guardiola basically coached the flair out of Jack Grealish and made him a boring player now. But
that's a whole argument to itself. I mean, does he round off the edges of all of his players? And after being at City longer than any other place, has he just finally rounded off the edges to all of his players?
And then, of course, it's Rodri. Now, maybe that's the thing. If you want to be reductive, you can go straight to the Rodri factor. But come on, they can win games without Rodri. They didn't lose without Rodri, or with Rodri in the lineup. Rather, they didn't lose with Rodri in the lineup. But that doesn't mean that when he was out in previous to this, when he missed a game, that they were terrible and couldn't win. But they have suddenly forgotten how to win games. Like, it does not happen for them anymore. And there is always a chance here too, right? If you and I've seen a little bit. I'm not the best with the analytics. My math brain only goes so far for me. But I've seen the arguments that you can see that the expected goals advantage for City has dropped off because sometimes these runs happen and they're not explicable. Right? You can look at a team who wins a lot, a team who overperforms, and they make the playoffs. St. Louis is a good example in Major League Soccer, right? St. Louis in year one has this incredible start to life in MLS, and it looks great, but if you dig a little deeper, the numbers suggest that, hey, they're really not that good. In this case, you could imagine that it might be possible that City is still pretty good. They're just not getting the breaks they used to get, or the luck has run out for a moment, because that can be a factor. But if you look at the numbers, it does feel like City's form is related to their performance in a pretty one-for-one kind of way, which means is there a light at the end of this tunnel? What is the thing here that's going to turn it around? And maybe City in this form is just a fourth or fifth place team, which would be a drop, but not spectacular in the way that it's been happening recently.
Yeah, plenty of time and plenty of games to get back into that top four, no doubt. And genuinely, in the chat, viewers, if you come up with a precedent in your mind of a sports team falling off so incredibly, going from first to worst placed form, overnight, please send that in to at mkickaround on social media or morningkickaround@gmail.com. Like, genuinely, I'd love to hear a story of a light switch being shut off from an elite team, going completely 180 and falling off a cliff. We won't be doing a show on Wednesday. There's Christmas, of course. Big next set of fixtures on Thursday. Are you gonna do the whole wake up early on Boxing Day and watch games there, Jason?
I will be in Puerto Rico for Christmas, which is an annual thing. So I will be in Puerto Rico for Boxing Day. There's a chance things happen an hour later. I have to get adjusted to the time zone difference, but things are they're
the time zone's different there.
The time zone's different there. It's 1 hour.
They're on Central.
Ahead.
Oh, ahead. So like super East Coast.
Of East Coast.
Super Eastern time.
The super East Coast time zone. Yes, Rob. That's what it's actually listed as if you go look it up. It's called the super East Coast time zone. No, it's called Atlantic time.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
So I don't think I have to get up I have to check the calendar. I have to look into my Boxing Day plans.
Ooh, 6:30 for Man City Everton is an early one.
6:30 your time?
Your Puerto Rico super East Coast time would be
Super
6:30 Manchester City Everton.
6:30 in the morning? That's too early. No, that one I'm probably not doing. But I will have to make my. What about you? What you're doing? What are you doing? What's going on?
Oh, so maybe I'm completely doing this wrong because that would probably make that 8:30 for you then, wouldn't it? Well, anyway, time zones are hard apparently.
I'm very confused by what you're doing right now. I don't know what you're doing right now.
Either way, I'm looking forward to Liverpool and Leicester. But lots of games on Thursday. I didn't know. I learned something new today. There is a Atlantic time zone. So thank you for educating me on that.
There are time zones all around the globe, Rob. There are many
I did know that.
times.
I did know that. I didn't know that there was enough distance off of the coast to fall into another zone.
Okay.
It's like the mountain time. No one thinks about
think
the mountain time.
okay, geography. Do we need to do this? Like the east coast of the United States, and then if you go into the Caribbean, things are further east in the. Okay.
Yeah, my geography teacher sending me coal this Christmas.
Apparently, yeah.
All good. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope everyone has a fantastic holiday. Our next show, Monday, we will have a New Year's Eve show here. So everybody, please, until next time, enjoy your soccer.